Pay attention, because what I'm about to tell you is time-sensitive, critical, and if you miss it, you'll look back weeks from now and realize you were being warned, guided, and directed, but you weren't listening closely enough to catch what heaven was trying to tell you. You've been seeing signs, don't pretend you haven't. Repeated numbers that keep appearing at the exact moments you're thinking about specific decisions. Songs with lyrics that speak directly to your current situation, playing everywhere you go. Conversations you randomly overhear that contain the exact guidance you've been seeking. Dreams so vivid they feel more real than your waking life. Names, phrases, or symbols showing up in patterns too consistent to be coincidental. These aren't accidents. These aren't your mind playing tricks on you. These aren't meaningless coincidences that you're reading too much into. These are signs, deliberate, intentional, divinely orchestrated signs. And they're not just casual encouragement. They're urgent confirmation of something you need to know, something you need to do, or something you need to avoid right now. God is trying to confirm something urgent. And the reason the signs are multiplying, the reason they're becoming more obvious, the reason you can't seem to escape them no matter where you turn, is because you haven't fully received the message yet. You've noticed the signs, but you haven't acted on what they're pointing toward. Here's what makes this moment critical. There's a window, a divine window of opportunity, of alignment, of perfect timing. And that window is open right now, but it won't stay open indefinitely. The signs are intensifying because the window is beginning to close. Heaven is speaking louder because the time for action is now, not later. You're hearing this message at this exact moment because you're one of the chosen ones who's standing at a crossroads. The path forward isn't obvious yet. The decision isn't clear yet. The confirmation isn't complete yet. But the signs have been speaking, and they're about to speak even louder. What I'm going to share with you isn't just about recognizing signs. It's about interpreting them correctly, understanding their urgency, and knowing what to do when heaven is trying to confirm something that requires immediate attention. Because missing the signs doesn't just mean missing information, it means missing timing. And in the kingdom, timing is everything. So turn off the distractions, quiet your mind, open your spiritual senses. Because what you're about to hear could be the difference between walking through the door heaven is holding open or watching it close while you were too busy, too distracted, or too doubtful to move when you were supposed to. The signs are everywhere. Let me show you what they mean and what you need to do about them. Right now, the first category of signs you need to understand is the sign of repetition. When the same message, the same theme, the same name, the same idea keeps appearing in your life through different channels. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation through repetition. And repetition means urgency. You keep seeing the same scripture pop up in multiple places. You keep hearing the same advice from people who don't know each other. You keep having the same type of dream with different details. You keep encountering the same situation in different forms. You keep thinking about the same person you thought you'd moved on from. This repetition isn't random. It's divine emphasis. When heaven needs you to pay attention to something specific, it won't just tell you once and hope you got it. It will repeat the message through multiple sources, multiple mediums, multiple moments, until you finally stop and acknowledge what's being highlighted. The urgent confirmation hidden in repetition is this. What keeps coming back is what you need to address. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not after you've figured everything out. Now. Maybe it's a conversation you've been avoiding, Maybe it's a decision you've been postponing. Maybe it's a relationship you've been pretending is fine when you know it's not. Maybe it's a calling you've been ignoring because it feels too big, too scary, too different from what you planned. Whatever it is, the repetition is heaven's way of saying, this is important, this is urgent, this requires your attention now. Stop scrolling past it, stop dismissing it, stop convincing yourself it doesn't mean what you know it means. The sign of repetition is often the loudest sign because it's the hardest to miss. If you're seeing the same thing over and over, heaven isn't being redundant. Heaven is being insistent. And insistence means there's a time element attached. There's a reason you need to move on this now, not later. What keeps repeating in your life right now? Write it down, acknowledge it, and then ask yourself honestly, what am I being called to do about this? What decision am I being pushed toward? What action am I being guided to take? Don't ignore repetition. It's not nagging, it's navigation. And the navigation is trying to get you somewhere specific before the window closes. The second sign is harder to recognize as a sign because it feels like a problem. Disruption. When things that normally work suddenly stop working. When routines that were fine suddenly feel suffocating. When relationships that were stable suddenly become turbulent. When systems you built suddenly start breaking down. Your first instinct is to fix it, to get things back to normal, to restore what was. But what if the disruption itself is the sign? What if normal stopped working because you've outgrown normal? What if the breakdown is making space for the breakthrough? God disrupts what needs to change. He doesn't ask permission. He doesn't wait for you to be ready. When it's time for you to move, He starts making your current position uncomfortable. He starts dismantling what you've become too attached to. He starts breaking the systems that are preventing you from accessing the next level. The urgent confirmation in disruption is this: when normal stops working, change is required. Not optional, required. And the longer you try to force the old system to keep functioning, the more painful the disruption becomes. Maybe your job suddenly became unbearable, even though nothing significant changed. Maybe your living situation suddenly feels wrong, even though it was fine last month. Maybe your social circle suddenly feels draining, even though these are the same people you've known for years. Maybe your daily routine suddenly feels like a prison, even though it used to bring you peace. Don't fight to keep what's breaking. The disruption is a sign that you're being called to something different, something new, something aligned with where you're going, not where you've been. The urgency here is in the intensity of the disruption. If it's escalating rapidly, if it's affecting multiple areas simultaneously, if it's creating undeniable discomfort, that means the change needs to happen soon. That means you're supposed to be moving toward the new thing now, not waiting until the old thing completely collapses. Disruption isn't punishment, it's redirection. It's heaven saying, this version of your life is complete. It's time to build the next one. And I'm going to make staying here so uncomfortable that you finally move where you're supposed to go. If your life is currently disrupted in ways that feel overwhelming, stop trying to restore what's breaking. Instead, ask, what is this disruption making space for? What am I being pushed toward? What change am I resisting that I need to embrace? The disruption is a sign, a loud, uncomfortable, unmissable sign. Don't miss it by fighting to maintain what's meant to end. Now let's talk about a sign that's easier to miss because it's quiet. Unusual peace. When you experience unexpected calm about a decision that should terrify you. When you feel surprising clarity about a path that makes no logical sense, when you have inexplicable confidence about something your mind can't justify. This peace isn't normal peace. This isn't the absence of stress. This is divine peace, the kind that surpasses understanding, the kind that doesn't make sense given the circumstances, the kind that feels like you're being held even when everything around you is uncertain. When you experience this unusual peace in the midst of what should be chaos, that's God confirming. This is the right path, even if it's scary, even if it's unconventional, even if no one else understands it. This is where you're supposed to go. The urgent confirmation in unusual peace is this: what brings calm is what's aligned, and alignment always has timing attached to it. If you're feeling peace about something right now, that doesn't mean it's right for eventually. It means it's right for now. Maybe you feel unexpected peace about leaving a secure job to pursue something uncertain. Maybe you feel surprising calm about ending a relationship everyone thinks you should stay in. Maybe you feel inexplicable confidence about relocating to a place you've never been. Maybe you feel unusual clarity about starting something you're completely unqualified for. That peace is a sign, a confirmation, a green light from heaven saying, yes, this is it. This is what I've been preparing you for. This is where your obedience is required. Move toward what brings you this kind of peace, even if it defies logic. But here's the urgency. Peace is also a window. The fact that you feel peace about something right now means this is the season for it. If you wait, if you hesitate, if you let fear override peace, the window might shift. What brings peace today might bring anxiety tomorrow, not because it stopped being right, but because the timing passed. Don't overthink what brings you peace. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't let other people's concerns override your internal calm. When you have unusual peace about something that should scare you, that's God confirming the path and the timing simultaneously. The sign of unusual peace is God's gentlest confirmation. But gentle doesn't mean optional. It means you're being given the internal signal without external pressure, but you still need to move on it before the peace shifts to urgency, and urgency shifts to missed opportunity. If you're feeling unusual peace about something right now, that's your sign. That's your confirmation. That's your green light. Move toward it while the peace is present, because peace is confirming both the direction and the timing. The fourth category of signs is the most undeniable: supernatural encounters. When strangers say exactly what you needed to hear at exactly the right moment. When someone you haven't spoken to in years suddenly reaches out with a message that addresses your current situation. When you receive guidance through sources you would never normally consult. These aren't random acts of kindness or lucky coincidences. These are divine appointments. Heaven sending messengers, often without the messenger even knowing they're being used, to deliver confirmation, guidance, or warning. You might be sitting in a coffee shop and overhear a conversation between strangers that contains the exact answer to the question you've been praying about. You might receive an unexpected text from someone who felt prompted to reach out, and their words unlock something you've been struggling with. You might encounter a child who says something innocent that carries profound spiritual truth for your situation. The urgent confirmation in supernatural encounters is this: when heaven sends messengers, it's because the message is time-sensitive. God doesn't deploy human messengers for casual information. He uses them when you need specific guidance for immediate decisions. These encounters often feel surreal. You'll find yourself thinking, that was too specific to be coincidence. That person couldn't have known what I was dealing with. That timing was too perfect. That's because it was. It wasn't coincidence, it was orchestration. The urgency here is in the specificity. The more precise the encounter, the more immediate the application. If someone speaks words that are eerily specific to your situation, if a messenger appears with information they have no natural way of knowing, if an encounter happens at the exact moment you are asking for clarity, that's not just a sign. That's a direct answer. And direct answers require direct action. Don't dismiss supernatural encounters as strange coincidences. Don't rationalize them away. Don't ignore them because they came through unconventional sources. Some of God's clearest confirmations come through the most unexpected messengers. If you've recently had an encounter that felt supernatural, that gave you specific information, that addressed something you were just thinking or praying about, that's your urgent sign. Heaven deployed a messenger. The message was delivered. Now you need to act on what was revealed. Supernatural encounters don't repeat often. They're usually one-time delivery systems for critical information. If you ignore the message, you might not get another messenger. You might just get consequences of missed timing. Pay attention to who appears in your life suddenly. Pay attention to what they say, especially if it feels oddly relevant. Pay attention to encounters that feel divinely timed. Those are signs, and they're confirming something that needs your attention now. Now we need to talk about a sign that's often misinterpreted: closed doors. When you've been trying to make something happen and it keeps not working. When you've been pushing for a specific outcome and every attempt fails. When you've been pursuing a particular path and every door slams shut. Most people interpret closed doors as obstacles to overcome, challenges to push through, or evidence that they need to try harder. But what if the closed door itself is the sign? What if the resistance isn't something to overcome, but something to heed? The urgent confirmation in closed doors is this: what won't open isn't yours, at least not right now, and continuing to force it isn't faith, it's stubbornness. God closes doors to protect you from wrong timing, wrong opportunities, or wrong alignments. A closed door doesn't always mean never. Sometimes it just means not yet, not this way, or not with these people. But in the moment, a closed door means stop, redirect, reconsider. The urgency comes when you keep forcing what's closed instead of turning toward what's opening. Every moment you spend trying to pry open a door, God closed, is a moment you're not walking toward the door. He's opening somewhere else. Maybe you've been applying for a position that you know you're qualified for, but you keep getting rejected. Maybe you've been trying to make a relationship work, but every attempt at reconciliation fails. Maybe you've been pursuing a business opportunity, but every door closes right when you think you're getting in. Stop. Look at the closed door not as failure, but as redirection. Ask yourself, what am I missing while I'm fixated on what won't open? Where should I be looking instead? What door is open that I'm ignoring because I'm obsessed with the one that's closed? The sign of closed doors is urgent because time spent forcing the wrong door is time lost from finding the right one. And right now, there's a right door, an open door, a door specifically for you that doesn't require force, doesn't require convincing, doesn't require you to beg for entry. But you won't find it if you're still camped out in front of the door that's closed, trying to pick the lock, trying to knock louder, trying to prove you deserve access. What's been consistently closed in your life lately? What have you been trying to force? What have you been begging to work out? That closed door is a sign. It's confirming. Not this, not now, not this way. Turn around. Look for what's open. That's where you're supposed to go. The urgency is in the redirect. If doors are closing rapidly, it means the right door is open now and you need to pivot quickly before you miss it while fixated on what was never meant for you. The sixth sign is internal rather than external. Increased spiritual sensitivity. When you suddenly feel everything more intensely. When you can sense energies, emotions, and intentions you couldn't sense before. When your intuition becomes razor sharp. When your dreams become more vivid and meaningful. When you just know things without being told. This isn't you becoming unstable or overly emotional. This is your spiritual senses activating at a higher level, and they're activating because you need them. You're being given increased sensitivity because you're entering a season where discernment is critical. The urgent confirmation in increased sensitivity is this: when you're feeling everything, it's because you need to discern everything. You're being prepared for something that requires precision, something that demands you be able to tell the difference between truth and deception, between divine timing and human impatience, between real connections and parasitic attachments. If you've noticed lately that you can feel when someone is lying, even if you can't prove it, when you just know certain situations are wrong even if they look right, when you're picking up on energies that others seem oblivious to, that's not paranoia, that's heightened discernment, and it's a gift for this specific season. The urgency is in trusting what you're feeling instead of dismissing it. Most people with increased sensitivity make the mistake of rationalizing away their intuition because it doesn't have logical evidence. But your spiritual senses are giving you information your logical mind doesn't have access to. If something feels off, it's off, even if you can't explain why. If someone's energy doesn't match their words, trust the energy, even if their words sound good. If a situation makes you uncomfortable for no obvious reason, honor that discomfort. It's your internal alarm system protecting you. You're being given increased sensitivity right now because there's something you need to sense, something you need to discern, something you need to avoid or embrace based on spiritual information rather than surface appearance. Don't numb your sensitivity. Don't ignore your intuition. Don't dismiss your gut feelings as overthinking. Your spiritual senses are heightened for a reason. They're confirming things your natural eyes can't see yet. And that confirmation is urgent because what you're sensing is related to immediate decisions, current situations, present circumstances. If you're feeling everything more intensely right now, that's your sign. It's confirming. Pay attention to what you're sensing. Trust your intuition. Act on your discernment. The increased sensitivity is temporary elevation for a specific purpose. Use it while it's active. The seventh sign is one that feels negative, but is actually profoundly positive. Divine frustration. When you're suddenly, inexplicably, overwhelmingly frustrated with where you are. Not just dissatisfied, frustrated, restless, agitated, unable to pretend you're okay with mediocrity anymore. This isn't depression. This isn't ingratitude. This is divine dissatisfaction. God making you so uncomfortable with your current level that you finally pursue the next one. The urgent confirmation in divine frustration is this: when you can't settle anymore, it's because settling is no longer an option. Your capacity has outgrown your current container. Your calling has outgrown your current career. Your anointing has outgrown your current audience. And staying where you are is no longer sustainable. Maybe you've been fine in your job for years, and suddenly you can barely get through the day. Maybe you've been content in your city, and suddenly you feel trapped. Maybe you've been okay with your current level of impact, and suddenly it feels insignificant. Maybe you've been comfortable in your routine, and suddenly it feels like death. That frustration is God saying, it's time. Time to move. Time to build. Time to step out. Time to risk. Time to become uncomfortable in pursuit of what you're actually meant for. The urgency in divine frustration is obvious. If you're this uncomfortable, you're supposed to move. Now. Not next year. Not when everything is perfect. Now. While the frustration is giving you the courage to leave the familiar and pursue the unknown. Most people make the mistake of trying to make themselves comfortable again. They try to adjust their attitude, practice gratitude, find contentment where they are. And while gratitude is important, there's a difference between grateful contentment and divine frustration that's pushing you out of the nest. If you can't settle anymore, don't try to. Don't shame yourself for being restless. Don't force yourself to be grateful for what you've outgrown. Instead, ask, what is this frustration pointing me toward? What is the opposite of what's frustrating me? What would I be doing if I wasn't here? That's your sign. That's your confirmation. The frustration is revealing your next move by showing you what you can no longer tolerate. The urgency is in the intensity. The more frustrated you are, the more immediate the move needs to be. Divine frustration doesn't subside. It escalates until you obey it. And the longer you stay where you can't settle, the more painful the staying becomes. If you're experiencing divine frustration right now, that's your urgent sign. It's confirming. You've outgrown this. It's time to move. Don't wait until you're comfortable enough to leave. You never will be. Move while the frustration is giving you the courage to go. The final sign is one of the most exciting and often overlooked: supernatural provision. When resources appear exactly when you need them from sources you never expected. When money shows up right before a bill is due. When opportunities present themselves right when you're about to give up. When people offer help you never asked for at exactly the right time. This isn't luck. This isn't good timing. This is God confirming your path by providing for it. And the pattern of provision is one of the clearest signs that you're moving in the right direction. The urgent confirmation in supernatural provision is this: when resources appear, it's heaven saying, move forward. The provision is confirmation that you're supposed to take the step, make the move, start the project, launch the thing. You wouldn't be given resources for something you're not meant to do. Maybe you've been thinking about starting a business and someone unexpectedly offers to invest. Maybe you've been considering a move and housing suddenly becomes available. Maybe you've been praying about a decision and the exact amount of money you need appears from an unexpected source. That provision isn't just a blessing. It's a sign. It's confirming the direction and the timing. It's heaven saying, I'm funding this. I'm backing this. I'm supporting this. Now move. The urgency in supernatural provision is critical. When resources appear, they're time-stamped. They're meant for immediate use, not hoarding. They're provision for now, not eventually. If you receive unexpected resources and don't move on what they're meant to fund, the resources often disappear or get consumed by other things. Supernatural provision is God's way of removing your excuse. You can't say, I don't have the resources, when resources just appeared. You can't say, I can't afford to move, when provision just showed up. You can't say, it's not the right time, when heaven just funded the next step. If you've recently received unexpected provision, money, opportunities, help, resources of any kind, that's your urgent sign. It's confirming. This is the time. This is the season. This is when you're supposed to move. I just gave you what you need. Now use it for what it's meant for. Don't sit on supernatural provision. Don't wait for more before you move. Don't hoard what was meant to be invested. The provision appeared now because the move is now. The timing of the blessing is confirming the timing of the obedience required. If resources just showed up, move. If opportunities just appeared, take them. If provision just manifested, use it. That's your sign. That's your confirmation. That's heaven saying, I'm with you in this. I'm funding this. Now go. So here you are, chosen one, having heard about 8 categories of signs that God uses to confirm something urgent. And I'm willing to bet that at least 3 of these resonated deeply with what you're currently experiencing. Maybe more. The signs are everywhere. They've been speaking. They've been confirming. They've been guiding. The question is, have you been listening? Have you been paying attention? Have you been willing to act on what's being confirmed? Because here's the thing about signs. They're not meant to be collected. They're meant to be obeyed. They're not meant to be interesting spiritual phenomena you notice and move on from. They're meant to be divine directions that change your trajectory. God doesn't speak through signs for entertainment. He speaks through signs because He's confirming something urgent, something time-sensitive, something that requires your attention and your action right now, not eventually. What keeps repeating in your life? Address it. What's being disrupted? Embrace the change. What brings you unusual peace? Move toward it. What supernatural encounters you've had? Act on them. What doors are closed? Stop forcing them and find what's open. What your increased sensitivity is telling you? Trust it. What frustration you can't shake? Let it push you forward. What supernatural provision appeared? Use it now. The signs aren't subtle anymore. They're getting louder, more obvious, more frequent. That's because the window is narrowing. That's because the timing is critical. That's because what God is trying to confirm needs to be confirmed now, so you can move now. Don't miss this. Don't ignore the signs because they're inconvenient. Don't dismiss them because they're uncomfortable. Don't rationalize them away because they're calling you to something that scares you. The signs are speaking. Heaven is confirming. God is guiding. And He's doing it urgently because what He's confirming is urgent. Listen, pay attention. And then, this is the most important part, obey, act, move, respond. Do what the signs are pointing toward. Because weeks from now, you'll either look back and thank God that you listened when He was speaking, or you'll look back and realize you missed it. You saw the signs but didn't move on them. You heard the confirmation but didn't act on it. Don't be the one who missed it. Be the one who heard, understood, and obeyed. The signs are speaking, chosen one. Don't miss what God is trying to confirm. It's urgent, it's important, and it's meant for right now. Listen, and then move.